Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 33 of the Glimmer Gang podcast. We have a lot to talk about today as we have a lot of new guards that have been released in the past week all over the interwebs. But before we get to talking about these cards, let's check in with our wonderful co hosts. Blake, how are you doing today, sir?
I am doing wonderful.
Awesome. Sean, how about you?
I am fantastic, my friend.
Awesome. Well, I love to hear it. And I know we got a lot of cards to talk about today. So let's just jump right in. Starting with Amber, I'm going to touch on two cards real quick. First is Queen of Hearts, Wonderland Empress. If you haven't seen it, this was our reveal card that went live yesterday. We had a ton of fun making it. If you want to see us talk about that, break it down, see what we want to do with the card, because there's some stuff that can be done with it. Go check out that video. It will be linked down below. And we also have Kita Atlantean, which is the one cost 2/2 vanilla for Amber. The only real reason to bring this up is its flavor text is in Atlantean, and it says "Welcome to the Inklands," which I think we all think is really cool. But Blake, you have the first card with text on it for us, so take us through that.
Yes, our first card here is the Heart of Atlantis. 4 cost uninkable with the ability Life Giver. You exert this card and pay 2 less for the next character you play this turn. So basically, a bigger version of Lantern. You had to put a little more into it, but you get a little more back. But I don't know how often this is going to pop off. I feel like it comes a little too late into the
Mm-hmm.
game.
Yeah, I can agree. It just feels like a card that says Heart of Atlantis on it should be more powerful. And in reality,
Considering how powerful it is in the movie, yeah, it feels like it should do a little more.
yeah. So I don't. I personally don't see this seeing play. Uh, Sean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this item.
I think since we saw Lantern see a certain amount of play, that there's a good chance we'll see this. Especially with some of the perhaps some of the item cost reduction stuff that we've
That's
seen
true. Yeah.
come out in the various sets. I believe Bell's Workshop reduces cost of items. Her dad, I can never remember his name. Blake, help me out here.
Maurice.
Maurice.
Maurice, thank you. Maurice reduces the cost of items by 2 when he quests. There's definitely ways to get this out earlier than 4 and get value out of it. I think being able to reduce the cost of a character by 2 is kind of wild. Like, you can get some really good 2 cost cards out there for free potentially, or some of these higher cost cards that don't hit the board until late game can come down just a little bit earlier. So we'll see. Only time will tell. All right, the next card that we are going to talk about is Bernard, Brand New Agent. He is a 4-drop, inkable, 1/5 Storyborn hero. He has 2 lore, and he has the ability, I'll check it out. At the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, you may ready another chosen character of yours. His flavor text says, you stay there, I'll look for scattered lore. I definitely love this. The Rescuers was one of my two of my favorite movies as a child. Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under. Bernard is a fantastic character, and it turns out he got a pretty decent card. I think there's going to be a lot of really fun ways to keep some of your more important characters safe even after questing, and his 5 willpower just makes him that much better because he can survive quite a bit of punishment.
Yeah, definitely. Works well with Christopher Robin that we got in set two. Because when he readies, you gain 2 lore, so that's great. Yeah, I do agree. I think this is going to be a pretty good rare. In that 4 slot, and Amber Dex is something that we really haven't seen. Too many heavy things. It's usually coming from another ink, but this could be played with there, and I think played really well there. Blake, any thoughts on Bernard?
You guys said the majority of it. Really like the stats and that ability. Just really interested to see what other cards may have effects like Christopher Robin that might be able to benefit from when they ready, and having that available, and just thinking of cards like Aerial Who's It Collector
Hmm.
or the Beast Relentless.
Yeah.
Uh, so squeaking out one more quest with those characters, and then if you have this guy on board, he can ready them back up again and keep them safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Bernard. Nice little guy looking for some lore. The next card we have is a 2 cost item called Cleansing Rainwater. Its ability, Ancient Power, says banish this item, remove up to 2 damage from each of your characters. I'm torn because we live in a reality where steel is very much played, grab your swords is played, and just spread damage is a thing. I'm gonna go Sean first. Any thoughts on this card? Because I don't really know what to think.
A mass heal like that, you would want it to be really really good, but as we've seen up to this point, um, the healing archetype really hasn't gotten there. It has these different pieces that can benefit from healing things, but we still haven't gotten a dedicated. Okay, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to keep my board alive in quest, and I'm going to keep them alive for value. We haven't seen it. Once we see that, this card is an automatic inclusion in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, because there are several ways to get items back from discard at this point. I believe I know there's Nick, Wild, and I think there's other things, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Um, but yeah, I like it. I think it'll do well once we see that type of archetype truly come to fruition. But until then, might just be bulk.
Yeah, I wonder if it could be good and limited, just because I know board presence is going to be good, but I don't know. Blake, thoughts?
Yeah, with the whole healing archetype, we need to see some more cards that can self damage. Kind of like Mother Gothel that
Mm-hmm.
come in damaged or stuff like that, because once your opponent sees that you're playing the healing stuff, they're not going to want to let you keep damage on your characters, so they'll do everything in their power to prevent you from having damage left on your characters. So it needs its own way to proc that, so cards like this can get their use and combo with Grandpappy and all of that. Being an item is interesting, so I wonder if there will be some sort of item deck that'll want to have this. I guess with one of the cards later that cares about banished items could combo with that, but we'll
Yeah,
see when we get to that card.
yeah,
All right, our next card is Miss Bianca. 2 cost inkable 2/2 with Singer 4, and it looks like she is storyborn and a hero. I think I'm having to translate it from Italian or German.
yes, yeah,
uh, but essentially another Sebastian, and uh, if that is hero for the subtype, that is different because I believe Sebastian was an ally.
yeah,
So if we get cards that care about that subtype difference, that'll be the difference between the two. But as of right now, it's pretty much another Sebastian.
yeah. It's just the difference. Do you want to play a nice Sebastian, or do you want to play Miss Bianca? My vote is still Sebastian because I love
Do,
Sebastian.
given the choice between the two characters, I'm picking Miss Bianca every day, all day.
See, Little Mermaid holds a special place in my heart because I was in the Little Mermaid musical when I was in middle school, which in reality was not that long ago. Uh, but yeah, we're just gonna glaze over the fact that I just
Who
said
were
that.
you?
I was just a bird. I was just a side character. I did it for fun. I didn't have any talent. I couldn't sing. I won't lie. I just did it because all my friends were in it.
Fair.
I got the squawk though.
There you go.
Anyways, yeah.
We got the squawk
I got
though.
the whenever we meet up for an in-person tournament, I'll share that video with people. It's before my voice changed, so I could get very high.
All right, up next is one of the new locations that we are getting introduced to in into the Inklands. Tiana's Palace Jazz Restaurant, I believe, is the full name of it. It is a 3 cost uninkable, 2 movement cost, 8 willpower, 1 lore location with the ability Night Out. Characters can't be challenged while here. Its flavor text reads: In New Orleans, dreams can come true.
So true.
I really, 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 really like this card. I really, really, really like this card, and I hope that since it has 8 willpower to back itself up, that this card's gonna probably this might be one of the main locations we see played, just because you being able to have this out and possibly getting something like a Cusco down on this is pretty great. Like you being able to lock down a ward character by having it not be able to be challenged is pretty amazing. And not to mention all the other great ward characters we
Hmm.
have.
Yeah, I am very excited to see this. I think it's going to be very playable. I think, and in Amber, they don't have a ton of uninkables, so I could definitely see this being played. I could see this fitting into an aggro deck, maybe, possibly to protect those small cost characters. I went to New Orleans at the start of the year, so this kind of holds a nice special place in my heart because I loved it there. Uh, so yeah, Tiana's Palace. Blake, any thoughts on this new location?
Uh, yeah, just really interested to see more of the locations. This one definitely looks like one of the more solid ones, and there is some fun stuff that we'll get to in a bit that'll pair really well with this location, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
All right, so that is all the Amber cards we have to talk about today, and we actually do have some Amethyst characters to talk about. We got one yesterday, then we just got one like 10 minutes before we started recording, so we have two. That brings it up to three Amethyst characters totally been revealed, and we're like a week and a half away from when the full set is going to drop, more or less. Uh, so yeah, Iago, Pretty Polly, is the first Amethyst character. He's a 3 cost inkable, 3/2 with 1 lore, storyborn ally, and he has evasive defense against Mini Surfer. We all know how playable that card is in any Ruby deck. So being able to have this to answer that is nice. Another good card, I think, for limited, just because evasive does really well in limited. But yeah, Blake, I'll go to you first. Any thoughts on Iago?
I just love all of the crackers torturing him. He
I
is
thought they were
surrounded by.
I thought they were pies for a second, and then I realized I look at them now and they're crackers.
Yep,
Makes more sense.
that's why he's a pretty Polly. All he
Yeah,
wants
I
is
don't.
cracker.
Okay. Yeah, actually, yep, that makes sense now. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, I love the reference. But yeah, solid little character. We'll probably see some play in some decks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I absolutely could see it happen. It's kind of funny to see that amethyst is like the off evasive color. So I think that there's potential here personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Our only other amethyst card that we have to talk about today, we got revealed as we were setting up for this episode. So we have Diablo. We have Diablo Faithful Familiar. And that's a rough translation, guys. So bear with us on that one. Its ability, or it's a 1 cost inkable 2/1. I'm assuming it's Storyborn ally, and its ability is I don't know the name of the ability, but the ability is whenever you play a character named Maleficent, you may look at the top card of your deck, place it on the top or the bottom of your deck. That's really really fun for the Maleficent that draws, because I believe that you choose the order of the triggers that happen. So you trigger him first, look at the top card of your deck. If you don't like that card, put it to the bottom, and then you draw the next two cards off of Maleficent. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah. I think it's a nice deep cut. I know you mentioned that before we started. It is a really
Yes,
nice deep cut. And that is something that I like about this game is they can go so far into these stories
they really
and
can,
just
man. It's pretty great.
pull from it. Uh, and yeah, I I don't know if this will see play. I don't see it seeing play because I mean, I guess we do have the one drop. Is this a villain? I wonder if it's a villain or if
It's an
it's
ally.
it's an
I
ally.
think it's an ally. Yeah,
I was
it's
gonna say it could
whatever
work.
whatever it's like Alleate,
Yeah.
and I assume that's ally in Italian.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it doesn't help the villain deck that we've been pondering with Queen of Hearts. Uh, but I mean, Maleficent is they have the small one drop for 2 lore, and then the 3 drop for that draws you a card. So this could see play. I don't think it will though. I think it's just a nice deep cut for all those folks out there. But Blake, any thoughts?
Um, if you go super Maleficent heavy, it right now, if you did an Amethyst Sapphire, you would have 4 different Maleficents to play. So you would have like 16 Maleficent cards that you could
That is
bounce off
true.
of that. But uh, those are all more standard. Most of them are vanilla. um, so not many abilities popping off there other than the 3 cost one that draws a card. But some consistent card draw. Definitely fun for like a theme deck, like based around Sleeping Beauty. But
Hmm.
yeah, we'll see if there's actually a spot, and maybe we'll get some more Maleficents this set at some point.
That is true. I definitely could see a good amount of more Maleficents come getting this card. Uh, but yeah, those were our Amethyst cards of the day. Sean, right back to you. You have a Emerald card to talk about next.
Yeah, absolutely. You all know how I feel about emerald cards. They tend to be some of my favorite cards. We're gonna just talk about this real quick. We got Milo Thatch. He's a 1 drop inkable 2/2 with 1 lore. He's vanilla. He's a shift target essentially.
Hmm.
Moving on.
As Sean said, moving on to the Floodborn Shift a bold card of Milo King Atlantis, a 7 cost uninkable, 4 strength, 4 willpower, 3 lore, like I said, shift 4, and an ability take them by surprise. When this character is banished, return all opposing characters to their player's hands. This was revealed last week when we were recording. We just didn't have time to get to it. When we saw it, I think a lot of us thought this was going to be good. And then as we start to think about it more, as much as I hate to say it, I love Milo, but I don't see a world where this is played. I can't. It just seems way too slow. Uh, and there's a lot of different instances that it doesn't trigger. Uh, but Blake, do you have any thoughts on our Floodborn Milo?
Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, none of us are really seeing a way to make his ability useful. There needs to be some way where you can better control when his ability goes off.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, the last thing you want is your opponent to do something about him, use his ability to their benefit, which without ward makes that very likely.
Yeah, yeah.
like the guys already said, we all like at face value we're all like, oh, that's awesome, getting rid of all of your opponent's characters. But what you got to understand with this guy, even no matter what timing you have with him, he's putting cards back into your opponent's hand that they can either ink or they're going to be able to play all of these amazing cards that we already have that do something when they enter play. That's his main drawback in my opinion, because you're not trying to bounce back big tanks, you're not trying to bounce back Maleficent dragons, you're not trying to bounce any Mims back, so or Merlins for that matter. So I don't see him getting played right now until we have some sort of great payoff for bouncing things, like
Hmm.
bouncing opponents things. Like right now we have payoffs for bouncing our own things, but there's really no other than here's cards back in your hand. There's really
Yeah,
nothing
the
we get from it.
couple of ideas that I've seen some people speculate that we would hopefully get to pair with this card is something that will either make your opponent lose lore when stuff is bounced back to their hand, or some. The other idea is you bounce the stuff back to their hand and then immediately have a way to get them to discard all of it.
Hmm.
But right now, there isn't anything that seems like it would really do that for us.
Yeah, and I think a card that discards everything from a hand would just be too overpowered. Uh, as I would love to be able to do that, as I was a mill player in Pokemon. Who knows what will happen here? I could definitely see like a card that says, like discard your hand, draw as many cards as you have characters in play. That could be
That could be fun.
interesting.
That could be fun.
Uh, Something like that. Because I know like there's a card in Pokemon where you discard your hand and draw for as many prize cards you have left. We don't honestly have private cards, but we do have characters in play, so I think that could work. But Blake, why don't you take us on to a villain from Atlantis?
Ah, yes. Our next character is Lyle Tiberius Rourke, cunning mercenary, 3 cost uninkable, 2/4 storyborn villain with 1 lore, and he has 2 abilities. First is, well, now you know. When you play this character, chosen opposing character gains reckless during their next turn. Then we have thanks for volunteering. Whenever one of your other characters is banished, each opponent loses 1 lore. So if we have some more multiplayer shenanigans from Emerald,
Woohoo!
and the interplay ability isn't terrible, especially if you got something nice lined up, which Emerald usually does with their characters that you don't want to challenge. So having that to pair with those characters is pretty nice. So
Yeah,
I could see this guy seeing some play.
yeah, I like him. I think I'm worried that that uninkable may be the thing that takes him off the board, as I think.
Yeah, the curse of Emerald being uninkable.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as it is, but I think that's just kind of the thing you got to play with this card. Yeah, I like it though. I think it's going to be great for multiplayer. Obviously, you have cards like Pack Tactics and Emerald that is wonderful in multiplayer. It does a lot there. So I definitely like this for a fun deck that you can play with a bunch of people. But Sean, any thoughts on this cunning mercenary?
Yeah, I love this guy. I think that he makes the reckless characters that see a lot of play already even better
Hmm.
because actually let me take that back. I misread his ability. It's your opponent getting reckless. Um I still like him though. Yeah, I like Lyle Tiberius work a lot. His second ability has a lot of potential for some serious uh not just multiplayer shenanigans, but shenanigans in general,
Hmm.
like being able to um you could teeth and ambitions your own thing and make them lose a lore. You know, you're challenging in to get rid of their board and they're losing lore the whole time. This in a ruby emerald lore stealing deck would be a lot of fun, I think, because there's a lot in ruby that can make this card just go off really well. Like, and I'm pretty sure it interacts with be prepared really well as well.
Also, kind of nice in an aggro deck because you can kind of go wide and you make your opponent double think about eliminating your board
Right.
because
Like if you want to lose 9 lore, go ahead.
sure. Yeah.
I'm still waiting for a card that says, like, an item that says when your opponent loses a lore, you gain a lore or something like that. And I think if we do ever get something like that, I think it could be like a legendary item. That could be real interesting with all these like losing lore stealing type of
Pairing
stuff.
that with this, I don't think they would make something like that. Something tells me there would be a way to make that a little too insane.
That is actually true.
I think at the very least they're going to get a decent amount of sets under their belt, so they really know the climate of this game, so they can make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, honestly.
Because that would get out. That could possibly get out of control.
That sounds like a 3-card combo, where it's like Lyle with your board, be prepared, and whatever that item would be.
Oh Lord, yeah, that's true. That would
Especially in multiplayer, it's like
Oh
I
goodness,
end the game.
That's. I can dream. Blake,
Yeah,
you got
keep
another.
dreaming.
Yeah, I'll keep dreaming for a long time. But Blake, you got another emerald card for us.
Of course. Where is it here? Yep, here we go. We have the Cursed Merfolk, Ursula's Handiwork. A 1-cost uninkable. There's that curse again. 0/1 with 2 lore. And the ability Poor Souls. Whenever this character is challenged, each opponent chooses and discards a card. So more discard for Emerald. Also some aggro with that 2 lore on a 1 cost. Just sacrificing on the stats to have that ability on there.
I think this is going to be good. I think this is going to be really good. And you say, oh, it dies to removal. Yes, it does. Unfortunately.
So does most other things. So.
Yes. So does a lot of 1 drops. So sooner, like, the thing is, like, if you drop this down turn 1, either if your opponent's not playing Steel or, I guess, Teeth and Ambitions and Ruby, they're going to have to challenge into it. And that's an early discard for them. And we've known for a long time how having a full hand basically can win you the game in most instances. And being able to discard that, to have this to discard is just great. I'm really excited about this card, honestly. I think Emerald just got even better by this. But who knows? Maybe I am totally wrong, but I'm gonna say I'm right, and I think this is gonna be a good card. Sean, thoughts?
Oh, I love this card. I absolutely love this card. You don't care that it doesn't have any power, obviously. It being a 1 toughness.
The power's in the lore.
Exactly. The power's in the lore. This is a really fun Emerald aggro piece, and it's aggro the way that Emerald wants to do aggro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna put this down turn 1. And if you don't like yeah, there are pieces that your opponent can have to not challenge into you on turn 2 to get rid of it, but even so, that doesn't automatically make it a fun trade for your opponent. Like, yeah, they might be able to get rid of it. They might be playing Steel Song and be able to sing something crazy. But I think that more often than not, this is going to quest for at least 2 lore and probably get your opponent to discard a card.
Yeah.
So,
the only way you don't get 2 lore from going first is if you're facing Steel and they're playing Fire the Cannons. But right now, Steel doesn't play Fire the Cannons.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen Fire the Cannons since early set 1.
Yeah.
It's gonna make a comeback. I think you're saying this now. It's gonna make a comeback next time.
And this type of card might be what brings it back. Honestly, like, this could be being able to generate 2 to 4 lore that early and still having a card that forces your opponent to play around it. It's a good card. It's not a bomb. It's not earth shattering or anything, but it is a good card, and I can't wait to play it. I already have ideas for decks I want to put it in. So
Yeah, definitely going to be really good. Um, the next card we have is from you, Sean. What do we got?
our next card in Emerald is one of a card that I've been waiting for this whole game. The this whole game, I say we're in set three. Uh,
I mean, to be fair, we've been covering this game for a year and a half at this point,
it's true. It's very
so
true.
we have been waiting a hot sec.
Um, very excited. I will say right off the gate too. I know I don't talk about this a whole lot, but the art on this card is phenomenal. Very, very
Mm-hmm.
good. We have Shenzi, Hyena Pack Leader. 4-drop inkable storyborn villain 0/6. With with one lore and the ability I will do it. When this character is at a location, she gets +3 strength. And the ability What's the Hurry? When this character is at a location, when she challenges another character, you may draw a card. I really like her. I really like her. A 4-drop with a 6 body.
And
I love that first. I love that immediately, and we get to see some really good location interaction.
did I hear you correctly? In that you said inkable in
Yeah,
Emerald?
exactly. I know,
What?
right? I know, right?
A good
Exactly, dude.
inkable emerald card,
A
guys.
good inkable emerald card, man. It's pretty awesome to see something like this. She fills the 4-drop spot too, which I don't know that Emerald historically has very many good 4-drops
The 4-drop
yet.
spot in a lot of decks hasn't been filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, for Emerald, it's mainly been Hans, the 3 Lord Quester, and then the Tinkerbell that gives
Oh
evasive
yeah,
for
that
the
one
turn.
actually
That's
isn't.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
But
but
still,
yeah,
this
those are
with
the only ones.
with the introduction of locations, this is going to be one of those supers that we're hunting down. Ironically, as a hyena pack leader, but we are going to be hunting down this hyena pack leader, and trying to throw this into decks because I think this is going to be good. I think if we do see a location, obviously I think we still have maybe like half the locations to see left, and even if the location isn't an emerald, it still is good. Like,
Imagine Shenzi hanging out at Tiana's
oh
palace.
my goodness,
Ooh,
Yeah, that right there seems like a lot of fun.
yeah. We do have another inkable emerald card up next. This is Don Carnage, Pirate Prince. He is a 5-cost inkable, 4/4 with 2 lore, and he is evasive. So just a drop down to 5 from 6. If you're thinking about that, Ruby Tigger. I think this will be good and limited. It's a common. I don't know how much play it'll see in other decks. It isn't bad though at all. I think the 4/4 at a 5-cost inkable with 2 lore and evasive is really good. Uh, and it's by Luis Huerta, so I mean the art is obviously great. But Sean, actually I go to Blake first. Never mind. Blake, any thoughts on this Don Carnage card?
I'm doing my best not to break out into the Tailspin theme song.
Oh my gosh. For real.
Just comparing it to other Ruby cards, this is basically Ray -1 lore and +1/1 on the stats. So I guess this is kind of nice, especially against like steel decks where you're wanting to avoid those damage, and this ekes out above Smash and yeah, Smash mostly.
Yeah, because that is seeing a uh, resurgence with all these 3 drops. The 3 willpower is in like the sweet spot to hit, and I think this being 4 obviously is better. Like, come on, Teddy, you know it's better. But uh, yeah, I think this is gonna be good. Sean, thoughts on this new card?
Tailspin. I can't get over it. I love Tailspin from my childhood. That's another really exciting part about Into the Inklands is we are getting some of the Disney Toon characters, actually quite a few of them up to this point, It's really, really great to see their willingness to go outside of the feature films and get some of these other, perhaps lesser known but no less beloved characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, as a card, he's pretty decent. Like I don't know that he'll see like we all of us in the very beginning we thought way too highly of Evasive. We thought it was going to be just this crushing mechanic that just every deck was going to run Evasive if they could. We've seen the niche spots where they can fit, like Blake brought up with Ray. That card sees play. I don't know if this card might not see play in a Green Fossa deck. It could be a decent piece in that deck.
Yeah.
Being able to cheat out an Evasive with 2 lore wouldn't feel too bad. So yeah, I think we might see him, but chances are probably not in comp play. But like you said, it's like sealed. Definitely going to see him played in sealed. He's a common. You're going to see him all the time.
All right, continuing the inkable train for Emerald. We saw the bulk of the curse. Now we get to see some relief. We have Robin Hood, Daydreamer, a 6 cost inkable, 4/5 with 4 lore. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
The
Yeah, that's a big card.
turquoise, the turquoise high 5 might become the turquoise high 6 with this.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely, Blake. I think that this is a really good top end piece for that deck for sure.
And I just have to bring it up. This was the Lumiteers, one of their reveals, and they are obviously, we know they love the art. And John Lauren is the artist for this card. He did the Robin Hood Archer in set one, which was an amazing art. He did Honey Wizard, which probably one of the best arts, if not the best art, in Rise of the Floodborn. And then we have Robin Hood Daydreamer, which, if you haven't seen the card, go look at Lorcania, because this thing is so detailed, so beautiful. I'm in love. John Lauren, you are an absolute master. This is amazing. I just had to kind of talk about that for a second because it's so good.
Yeah. The art has not missed at all this set.
No, it has not.
No, it's banger after banger with this set. It's pretty great to see that it feels like they have finally figured out where they want their art to be. They're not taking, it doesn't seem like they took quite as many chances with this set, but the result was like, you're telling me Cursed Merfolk, Ursula's handiwork, you're going to tell me in cold foil that's not going to be amazing to look at? Like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
Shenzi, even with
Yeah,
the
Shenzi as well.
wispy
Yep.
hyena shapes, like that's going to look so sick.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's and like you said, John Lauren, he's an absolute legend. He did a phenomenal job. This card deserves a playmat, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even, I don't know, do we have the official playmats correct?
Yeah.
And it's the Stitch and
Moana card that we
Yep.
haven't
Yes.
seen yet.
Yes.
But this is on the sleeves, and I believe it has a deck box as well.
Yeah. I could definitely see like a custom playmat being made of this art.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just that good. But yeah, those were our Emerald cards. Moving on to Ruby, we have a very good card next. Sean, why don't you tell us about this very good card?
All right, the first card that we have to look at in Ruby today is going to be Prince Eric, Expert Helmsman. He is a 4-drop uninkable hero Dreamborn Prince with 2 lore and 2 strength and 2 willpower. His ability is Surprise Maneuver. When this character is banished, you may banish chosen character. And I also want to say his flavor text implies that Lorcana is flat, which I think is hilarious because there's an edge of Lorcana, so, and a mysterious structure. Ooh. So we'll hopefully figure out what that is at some point. This guy's great.
When I read that, my mind, and like, it went straight to the end in Minecraft. I don't know why. That's where my mind went to, and I'm like, maybe it's just kind of just like a void. Is Lorcana? I don't know. It that is really interesting to see. Blake, I know you're gonna eat that up
Yeah.
with this
When we get
story
some
arc stuff.
answers, yeah, I'm
That is true.
definitely making some videos on that.
As far as a card goes, he's pretty great.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that a lot of people are going to be like, well, 4 is pretty expensive for what he is. Not so much, in my opinion.
Nope.
You're dropping him down, um, and you're questing out. There's no good way for you to get rid of this unless you're bouncing, I guess,
Or
or if you're in
yeah,
Sapphire and you're
let it
sending
go.
stuff to the Inkwell.
Yeah.
that that or your opponent has an empty board. You don't
True.
want to play
Yeah,
him out. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, he's gaining lore. He's gonna gain you 2, 4, 6 lore, however much it is, and he's hopefully gonna get rid of a threat in turn. So I nothing but value. Love this card. The art is absolutely phenomenal. Probably one of the best Prince arts we've gotten so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you covered it all, Sean. This is gonna be amazing.
Banger.
Banger. Such a good card. And it's not even a legendary, it's a super, so a little easier to pull, too.
Yeah,
I
sure.
do think it is going to be one of the more expensive supers, though, for sure. Uh, but yeah, that is Prince Eric, Expert Helmsman. The next card we have is Sumerian Talesman. This is a 3-cost inkable item, Source of Magic. During your turn, whenever one of your characters is banished in a challenge, you may draw a card. This, my first thoughts is it goes well into the challenge decks, like with Shere Khan and all that. It's a honestly, I don't think it's too bad. I definitely am interested to see because it's more draw for Ruby in that regard. Because Ruby, I think we have Dinner Bell, and then we have the Talisman. I think this could be interesting. I think I could definitely see this maybe like a 1 or 2 count in like a deck that really wants to challenge. Could go with Prince Eric to be fully honest. But Blake, any thoughts on this item?
Just that I'm currently watching the newer series of DuckTales and seeing this item in action. So it kind of neat to see here. This was one of the cards I originally thought was like, is this Lorcana original? But then I was informed this is from the new DuckTales series.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of lore implications, and I need to finish watching the show so I can understand what it means. But as an ability, yeah, some more draw for the challenge deck alongside the Queen of Hearts from last set, who lets you draw whenever you challenge. So that's a nice little combo there. Draw 2 in 1 potentially. Yeah, it's just hopefully at some point the challenge deck will get some stuff to make it viable, because I tried my hardest last set to make a challenge deck work and it just could not stand up against anything that was in the meta.
Yeah, the challenge decks. I mean, when we saw Shere Khan in set 2, we thought it was going to be really good. I mean, it's seen play, but I don't think it's seen a lot of play, which is unfortunate because I think it's a really good card still. And so I'm hoping that, like you said, Blake, maybe we do see a shift in the challenge decks, getting some legs underneath them. I mean, not to our own horn, but the villain card that we revealed is showing that these type of decks that focus on one specific thing are getting some legs. So I'm hoping that the challenge does get some legs underneath it. But Blake, you have another Ruby character for us to talk about.
John, you didn't have anything to say.
Oh,
DuckTales.
DuckTales.
Woo!
Woo!
My bad, boys. I am.
No, you're good. No, dude, you guys nailed it.
Okay. Then I will move on to our third Milo Thatch. All right, yes, another Milo Thatch, Spirited Scholar, 2-cost inkable 2/2, storyborn hero with 1 lore, with the ability I'm Your Man. While this character is at a location, he gets +2 strength. Which mm, seems okay, maybe. If he had a bigger willpower, I think, because once you challenge into something with him, he's pretty much gone. And you spend 3 or four ink potentially in total just to get him to do that. So I'm not sure he's one of the best location cards that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree. I love a good Milo card. I just watched Atlantis for the first time after B Squared was talking about it, and I love the movie. It is one of the better made Disney movies. I think the storyline is great, and I love another Milo card. I will take it all day long. Sean, any thoughts on this location relevant card?
Yeah, other than the fact that he needs a higher willpower, I'm not such a big fan of this card. Good art, all that, and like you said, Milo's a great character from a great movie. But yeah, just kind of so at this point. Maybe we'll see another location introduced that might buff willpower as well, and then that he's a horse of a different color for two inkable. So
Yeah, the one that I think he pairs best with right now would probably be Maui's island.
Yeah,
the resist,
Maui's
yeah.
the Exhalation Island or whatever.
Get the resist to help him a little bit. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Our final Ruby card for today is one I'm actually super duper excited about.
Hmm.
I think this card's going to be great. It's Voyage. It's an action that costs one. It is inkable, and its ability is move up to two characters of yours to the same location for free. I think that this card, we've already seen that Ruby has a lot of synergy with locations. That Ruby already really likes locations. So having this card at their disposal, this is definitely going to open up a Ruby locations deck. It really depends on what other locations that we see, as far as what the off color will be for this deck, in my opinion.
Yeah, I am, like you said, super excited about Voyage. Being able to move two characters for free, for thinking about like a card like Tiana's Palace, that which has a move cost of two, and that's seems like a pretty expensive move cost, is what we've seen so far. Do we have any that cost three to move to yet? I believe the highest we've seen is two. So yeah, Voyage, I think, being a one cost, I'm okay with it not being able to be sung. I don't see that being an issue with how cheap it is. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really good card in Ruby that helps us get to these locations and bring them into play more. Blake, thoughts on Voyage?
Yeah. Just seeing how much ink it saves you, especially if you're going to locations that have a two for the move cost. That saves you so much ink right there. And definitely helps those characters that do things when they get to locations. So saving there, yeah, especially if you have like multiple Peter Pans. So very interested to see what other location cards we get to combo with this, because this is definitely one of those cards that will make location deck work really
Hmm.
nicely.
Yeah,
I would be excited to see also if we get um locations with an even higher movement cost, because the higher the movement cost on a location, you would assume the better the location, and with this card the value just goes up exponentially. The higher cost that the move cost is on the location, the better this card is. So
oh yeah,
you potentially save 5 ink, like on a, if we have a location that's a 3 move cost. That's pretty wild. That's a big discount.
yeah. I think this is going to be a good card, like we've all said. It's going to see a lot of play. I think in obviously a deck that cares about locations, but I think any deck that has a location in it that is viable for the deck, Ruby is going to want to play this. I do want to bring up the flavor text real quick. It says, "We were voyagers. Why do we why do we stop?" And I guess that is a quote from the movie, but I'm curious to know if that has any implications in the artwork, because it looks like they're traveling through the Inklands, because that is definitely not uh, any scene from Moana. There's these huge spikes in the back, so I'm curious if that has any implications to the art. who knows? Uh, yeah, something that caught my eye, and I wanted to point out because I'm interested to see these more about these Inklands because obviously like, there was huge spikes in the back. What the heck could those be?
Yeah, for
Uh,
real.
so yeah, lots going on with this card. Lots of great things going on with this card. The next card we have is our first Sapphire card. Tinkerbell, very clever fairy. She's a 5 cost inkable, 3 strength, 4 willpower with 2 lore. Whenever one of your items is banished, you may put that card into your inkwell face down and exerted. I don't mind it. This is just a card I feel like we need to see more of until we I guess it could go well with Hiram, but if we're thinking at a Hiram deck, you're gonna be inking your or you're gonna be discarding your popsicles, which you're gonna be wanting getting back with Nick Wild. So I guess that works in the fact that maybe if you like a fishbone quill or something, if you want to put because it is nice that you may put that card into Inkle and face on unexerted, but honestly, if we're thinking about the item deck, Tamatoa is the big top end, and he's going to be able to want to get items back from the discard. He's not going to want to not be able to get items back because they're sitting in your uh, inkwell. So, in my opinion, this Tinkerbell card is not that good. I don't see a world where it's played just because of how much you want to have recurring items. But Blake, any thoughts on Tinkerbell?
Yeah, I feel like if you lowered her stats and everything, and you could play her on 3, she would combo a lot better with Hiram,
Mm-hmm.
because you would get the immediate value out of it. And like we've seen with most cards around turn 3, turn 4, that's when you want to be doing your ramping.
Mm-hmm.
So these cards that ramp later in the game kind of confuse me a bit. So it, it, the only it would be interesting if we get some sort of item or something where if you're ramping, whenever you ramp, you gain lore. That would be interesting, but then again, that would make one of the cards we're about to talk about pretty broken. If that was
Yeah.
the case. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it definitely feels like it comes too late, and yeah, with just that ability, don't I don't know.
I'm not convinced that this card's great right now. It kind of short circuits the popsicle engine, which I know is a big piece to the engine or the item combo. I guess, yeah, I don't know. I just don't see this being fast enough. It's too slow. I guess you could ramp to it early, get it down, and then start doing some stuff with some of the more obscure banish items that we have, like the ones that make you banish it yourself. But I don't know. Only time will tell. I don't see this seeing a lot of play though. I think it's just too slow.
Yeah. Yeah, too slow, unfortunately, for the Tinkerbell. I mean, she's a pretty fast flying fairy, but I think this
It's
card is
true.
going to be a bit too slow. But for playable cards, I think the next card we have is very playable. And Blake, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, this is what I want in my item deck, which is Audrey Ramirez, the engineer, 5 cost inkable, 2/5 storyborn ally with 2 lore, with ward, and the ability spare parts whenever this character requests ready one of your items. So this is the kind of stuff you want to see in the item deck. It
Yep.
combos so nicely with things like the Eye of Fates, um, Mouse Armor, even any almost anything that exerts and does something. This just combos nicely with it.
Gosh,
Um,
this with Wizard Spellbook or whatever it is,
Oh,
fantastic.
Fishbone Quill,
Yeah.
three ink, one turn.
yeah, Quill, Eye of Fates, adding a bunch of lore to a character, and then we also have the item we talked about last week, the Lucky Dime.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that's an insane amount of lore gain, even with just the dime and her on board. You use the dime, gain 2 lore from her, quest with her 2 more lore, ready the dime, use the dime again, and yeah.
And you figure that's probably the low end of that loop.
Yeah, if you have like a 3 or 4 lore quester on the field, it just gets even more nuts. So
Exactly.
she can be very dangerous depending on what item she gets to be paired with. So I definitely see her uh, seeing a lot of play in the item decks, and might be what brings some more variations on the item decks to come out.
Yeah, I can't say enough about this card. You guys summed it up really well, but I am just excited to see Audrey in play. Uh, right after you play Hiram on turn 4, you play her turn 5. Uh, if you're thinking Ruby, Sapphire, whoa, mind blink. Uh, Tremaine on turn 6, maybe, and then like a Lucky Dime turn 7 if you don't need to be prepared. Like that's potentially like you're at 10 lore, you could win the game right there. Like there is 100% uh, a way that this card, the Audrey and Lucky Dime, win you a turn, win you a game when you're not even close to being able to win, which is really interesting to see that possibility come up. So I am really, really excited. And it's a rare. So this could see play in our gauntlet as
Oh
well,
yeah.
which there is still that item package is all there. I mean, Lucky Diamond isn't because it's a legendary, but that item package is still there. So Audrey could be really good in our little gauntlet. We do have another rare in Sapphire to talk about. Sean, want to talk about this new song we had?
Absolutely. So the next card is Friend Like Me. It's a song. It's 5 cost and inkable. Its ability is each player puts the top 3 cards of their deck into their inkwell face down and exerted. I don't like this card at all.
Mm-mm.
I love the
Mm-mm-mm.
I love the art. I love the song. That's all on point. That's fantastic. But I do not like this card right now. Maybe someday it'll be good. But giving your opponent, you're giving yourself and your opponent 3 ink. But you got to understand, unless we find a way to unexert our own ink, they're going to be able to use theirs first.
Mm-hmm.
So you're helping them. Essentially, you're helping your opponent before you can help yourself, and that's not what you want to do in this game at all. So I don't see this seeing play yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I don't see the seeing play. I love the song. It is one of the best songs in uh, Aladdin, but it's just not that good. Blake, I'm gonna bet you agree with us on this. You don't. How are you thinking of this card?
Yeah, the only idea that I've seen people toss around that might some crazy people will try to do is milling your opponent and using it to mill. But even then, you want to play this as late into the game, like as the finisher, because
Right,
you don't want to give them the ink to play around with. Otherwise, they're just going to overwhelm you on the board and win the game before you can finish milling them. So yeah, no, I do not see this getting much play currently.
So that was Friend Like Me. Not going to see a lot of play in our eyes right now, but this next item may. It is Vault Door. It is a 4 cost inkable. And it says sealed away. Your locations and characters at locations gain resist 1. I don't. That's not bad at all. I do like that a lot. I think you're thinking like Maui's Exile. That location. That's obviously that location is getting resist, and then your characters there are getting resist too. Uh, Sapphire Steel is a combination that we've seen work. So I like Vault Door. Sean, thoughts on this item?
yeah, I love it. It's one of the it's one of the only things that we've seen so far. It might be the only thing we've seen so far that protects locations. So I think it could be invaluable. I really do. I really could. I could see an argument for this being one of the cards that dictates what locations get played.
Mm-hmm.
So And on top of that, it gives characters at locations resist +1. So if you use this with Maui's location, then it's your everything there gets resist +2, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Vault Door. Gonna be really good. Blake, thoughts on this card?
It's interesting. It's an item too. So there may be a item deck that has some locations that it cares about, and it'll be really interesting to see if there's um, a deck that can squeeze in items and locations. Or maybe it more cares about the locations, and this is your item to help those locations out. So we'll see. But definitely giving resist is probably one of the better ways. And then I believe you can stack this. So
Yeah.
giving your locations even more resist, making them tougher to wipe out for even cards like Maui and stuff, uh, would be pretty nice, especially for those two lore locations that you want to keep on the board.
Well said. Our final Sapphire card that we have to reveal or not reveal, the final Sapphire card that we have to talk about today is our other location, Bell's House. It is a 1-cost inkable location with a 2-move cost, 6 willpower. It has the ability Laboratory or Laboratory if you fancy.
Laboratory.
If you have a character here, you may pay 1 less to play items.
Belle did it with the Aurelian gyro sensor in her house.
It's true, yeah. I love that we're getting callbacks to other cards in cards. I love when they do that in TCGs. So that's a super fun piece right there. This is just like another perspective of Maurice's card because I think he's standing in front of that window, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think this card's good. I don't know how good it's going to be. 1-cost location that allows you to play items cheaper could be pretty great with some of the cards that we've seen so far. So
I do want to point out that you only need one character at the location. Having multiple characters does not stack that ability.
Good call. Good call. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey. Well, I guess here's a question: if you have 2 Bell's houses in play and you have a character in each, does that stack then?
That would stack. Yes.
That would stack, but having multiple characters on one does not stack that ability. Yeah.
Still, at a 1 cost, and you can say dies to Maui. A lot of these, anything, mostly anything dies to Maui. Okay.
Yeah. Lorcana dies to Maui.
Lorcana dies. Lorcana dies. I might spend too much time on that website. Lorcana dies to Maui. Bell's house dies to Maui. You just got to accept that fate. But I still think this is going to be good. I mean, you can play a popsicle for free.
That's absolutely true. And what you got to understand is, this does die to Maui, but you can get this out on turn 1.
Yeah.
There's 5 turns between when, or 4 turns between when you can drop this and when your opponent can drop Maui if you go first. So,
and if they tried to take care of it earlier, they're losing their tempo.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
even though this isn't doing any damage back to them, they're still not questing. You have the ability to quest. So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see if this card is in play. Are they going to go for the character that's there first, or do you go for the location itself? I think with a card that was just revealed by our good friends Habitat Happiness, we're going to talk about in a little bit from Steel, we could see a little move around to be able to get this out of play without having to deal with the willpower or anything. But yeah, I do think this could see play, especially in that item deck. Still, I know it's gonna be fun to mess around with because obviously the 1-cost spot has Popsicle right there. I don't know if you'd rather play this or Popsicle. I think it'll be interesting though. I do like this card a lot. Obviously rare, so again, a nice location for the Gauntlet. But yeah, that is all of our Sapphire cards. Blake, you want to take us into our first Steel card that our good friend B Squared 24 just loves?
Down, Brandon.
Down, Brandon.
All right, that is Helga Sinclair, right hand woman. 3 cost inkable, 2/4 storyborn villain. I'm gonna point out every villain now since our reveal. Who has Challenger +2 with 1 lore. Uh, Solid little card, probably great for limited or sealed draft and all that. But yeah, solid little card. And the, with steel, we got one at 1 cost, 2 cost, and now we got a 3 cost challenger. So following that line.
Yeah, I think this will be good. Like you said, in limited, I just can't see. I can't see it being thrown into an actual like competitive jack deck. Uh, just because I think there's better options that are gonna further your your game state along, further your board along. Hitting 4, being hit 4 on turn 3 is nice, but when you're only hitting 2, if someone challenges into Helga, I think that's like the downfall. Not the, I mean, Challenger is great, but like the downfall we do see is if you are getting challenged into, you aren't going to probably do as much damage back, uh, which is unfortunate. Uh, yeah, Sean, thoughts on Helga?
I think she's great.
Hmm?
She's filling out that curve of challenger characters in Steel really, really well. Decently statted. And like Blake said, she is a villain. So
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know,
Uh-huh.
we're pumping up them villains. We're
Uh-huh.
entering our villain arc here on the Glimmer Gang podcast.
There you go. Lorcana villain.
All right. Our next card in Steel is going to be. Is it Kita or Kaida?
It's Kita.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Just making sure. All right. So our next card in Steel is Kita, Royal Warrior. She is a 2-cost inkable, 2/3, 1 lore with Bodyguard. She is a storyborn hero princess. She is essentially an ink shifted Simba. She has the same stats, same ability, same cost. The only difference is instead of prince, she's a princess. So that could matter. We have already seen Bodyguard Simba see a ton of play. That bodyguard value on turn 2 cannot be understated. So
Yeah.
I definitely think there is a world where this card sees a decent amount of play.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon loves Helga. I love Kita. So I am very happy to see that we probably have a playable Kita on our hands. Like you said, Bodyguard with Simba has seen so much play, and now to be able to have it in steel of all colors, I feel is going to be great. Yeah, I mean, when you're playing Amber Steel, it's just a matter if you want Simba or Kita. But if you're not playing those cards or those colors together, I think Kita slots right into that 2 spot well. Uh, and yeah, I am very excited about this card. Blake, thoughts on this Atlantis card?
I don't want to go into the art too much because this is an audio.
Yeah, right. Just imagine what we're talking about, guys.
But for the art, it does appear to be facing some sort of creature that they've been hinting at in a couple cards. I believe we also saw some glowing red eyes and Bernard's card.
Mm-hmm.
So there seems to be some other new threat that they're running into out there. So I'm very interested to see what that turns out to be.
Yeah, lots of this story that we still don't know, and I'm really
Yeah,
excited to
true.
see.
One more thing I wanted to mention before we move on from Kita is I know that there are a lot of people out there that are speculating that we might see a Kita Floodborn, so keep your eyes out for that, perhaps.
Yeah, I would love to see Kita Floodborn. That would be awesome. Maybe as we've seen the Milo and King of Atlantis, maybe we see a Kita that's come to uh, the I don't even know, real world. I guess I don't know. That's the best description for it. You get what I'm saying. All right, so the next card we have is a inkable item. It is a 3-cost map of treasure planet, key to the portal, turn or exert, and you may pay 1 less for the next location you play this turn, and show the way you pay 1 less to move your characters to a location. I think it's going to be good. I do like the fact that we are able to now see stuff that lessens the cost we need to do to interact with locations. I'm still interested to see if this will be like a great card because if there's a location that needs to be moved to that really changes the game. I see Map of Treasure Planet being really good. I do still think this is going to be a nice inclusion for steel decks, something to be considered if you are considering using locations as a heavy part of the deck. Blake, I'll go to you. What do you think about Map of Treasure Planet?
Um, I, I, we actually just finished talking about a location that really likes this with Bell's House.
Yeah, it's true.
You get to play it for free and one less to move something. So your overall cost there is to get one. You just need to pay one ink in order to get a character to Bell's House, and then immediately you can now play items for one cheaper, which means you can now play Popsicle for free.
Yeah, Popsicle. We
So
love free
for
things.
ink, you're moving a character to Bell's house and getting to play some free items. I could see it, like I was talking about when we were talking about Bell's house, a sapphire steel item slash location deck. So I definitely gonna at least try that out when
Yeah.
the time comes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, gotta love free stuff. I
Yeah,
love free
exactly.
stuff.
The amount of value you could generate from this card can't be understated. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Uh, we do have another card coming up. Blake, you're going to talk about this, but I found this in the middle of the night on Reddit. It was like 1:30 in the morning. I'm just scrolling on my phone, and boom, this pops up. But Blake, yeah, why don't you tell us about this new card that we got?
Yes, it is one of my favorite moments from Hercules. It's a one cost inkable action. Um, Olympus would be that way.
Oh, such a such a classic moment in that movie, dude. Might be one of the best moments, like you said. Just so
Yeah.
good.
But it gives your character +3 strength when challenging locations for that turn.
Not bad.
Pretty solid. So even if you have a 3 strength character on board, that plus this, only have to challenge with one character to get rid of a potential location.
And it doesn't die to Maui, it dies to something else.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
You got to worry about more than Maui now.
More than
Anything.
Mauier.
Yeah.
That was so stupid.
Though it does kind of remind me of it kind of like Charge, but only more niche because it only cares about location. So
Yeah.
this card totally just depends on how popular locations end up being in the meta.
If we had like side decks, I think this would be really good to include in side decks at this
Yeah.
point. Obviously we don't. So yeah, like you
Yeah.
said, just kind of depends on if the meta really revolves around locations or not.
Yeah.
100%. This definitely feels like a tech card
Even if
against
they're
locations.
not dominant, if they're and they're enough, I could see where you just include like 2 copies of this card,
Right.
just as a tech. But at least it is inkable. So if it ends up being useless for your matchup, you can just ink it. So it's not the worst card, but it just how much we'll see it. It all depends on how the locations shape up for the meta.
Yeah, I think like you said, tech card. I do like it though. And going on to our next card, it kind of goes into that theory that Steel just hates everything. Like I said, this card was just revealed like 20 minutes ago at the time of recording by our good friends at Hobbies and Happiness. Sean, why don't you tell us about this?
Let's talk about this fresh new card from Into the Inklands. Thank you, Dan and Jim, for your amazing little video revealing this card. Congratulations, you guys, on getting this reveal. There are content creator brothers. We do lots of work back and forth together. Great guys. You should
You should
check
check
their
out
stuff out if you
you should
haven't.
check out their podcast because I got to go be featured
See,
on
there
it.
you go. There you go. And they will also be part of the production team for the Glimmer Gauntlet. So,
Yes, indeed.
yeah. So, shout out to those guys. They do great stuff. All right. The final card that we have to talk about today it potentially could be a very good card. It's Rise of the Titans. It's an action that is a 3-cost inkable. Banish chosen location or item.
Boom.
Full stop. That's what it does. That's where we're at. I do have to say, the art is phenomenal,
The art is amazing.
and the flavor text is on point. Oh, we're in trouble. Big trouble.
I remember that quote.
I can picture the scene. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Again, this is dependent on whether it's not as dependent on whether locations are good or not, because it also does hit items. And I think that the dual purposeness of this card is definitely going to lend to its ability to be played in more decks. That being said, I look forward to maybe seeing this on attached to one of the Titans if we get a Titan character card. I would love to see this attached to that. Rise of the Titans, that would be phenomenal. I do think it's a good card, though, all around.
Yeah, Rise of the Titans. I think this is going to be great. I truly do. And banishing, like you said, being able to banish an item even makes it great in the fact that it has a dual purpose. You don't have to put it in strictly for the locations. If locations are like you see them in some decks but not other decks, this is great because items are seen in every deck. We've seen how popular the Benja is, and even the Beast was earlier that got rid of items, but even Benja is always played in steel decks, and I think will be played for a very long time, especially with all the item synergy that's coming. I think it's going to be great. Yeah, I really like Rise of the Titans. Like I said, Dan and Jim, great reveal. Blake, any thoughts on this final card for this episode?
Yeah. Right now, it's kind of like the last one, where it all depends on how prominent these cards are in the meta. But at the very least, they are very good tech option cards, especially both of them being inkable. So, worst case, it's an ink. Worst
Yeah.
case.
Worst case scenario, it's an ink. Late game, if you don't need it, just toss it and play one of your top end characters. Well, that was episode 33 of the Glimmer Gang podcast. We know it was longer than usual, double the amount of time we usually go, but we wanted to talk about these cards and get our opinions on it because we are really excited about Into the Inklands. This is shaping up to be a very good set. Obviously, with the introduction of locations, a lot of new dynamics will change. I think some will stay. Unfortunately, I'm looking at you, Ruby Amethyst. But yeah, we want to say thank you everyone for listening. We hope you all have a good rest of your day whenever you are listening to this, and Glimmer on.